Tell him, McCluskey. Tell him what time it is.
Little Hand says it's time to rock and roll.
All you people are so scared of me.
Come quietly or there will be trouble.
Man, that's just me.
I'm Batman.
This is Sparta!
There is a tiger in the bathroom!
I'm an excellent driver.
If it bleeds, we can kill it.
Pop quiz, hotshot.
Keep the change, you filthy animal.
I don't know what's wrong with me. I can't eat, can't sleep. Maybe I'm coming down with something.
Oh, I know what you've got. The L word.
Yeah, leprosy.
No, Sid, no. It's 4 letters. Starts with L, ends with E.
Aha! Lice.
No.
Hello and welcome to this week's really hot Monday movie show on the 18th of July 2016.
Yeah,
Did I mention it's really hot?
Yeah. Have you got one of those electric fans? We're going to hear it buzzing every now and again or something, though.
No.
you just wish you had one.
Yeah, my flat is like a cookhouse. I think my kitchen is a sauna, even in the coldest of winters. So it's just a nightmare. And I know a lot of people who might be listening to this in places like the United States going, stop complaining about the heat. We're in the UK. We don't get heat like this. So that's the reason why we complain when it is this hot. So it's difficult to actually even concentrate. So if we mess up on this week's show, you know the reason why. We are blaming the heat.
Yeah, you're blaming the heat. I'm blaming you. So
if you mess up, you're blaming me.
Yeah.
There's the heat. Just got into him straight away. We are live at 9 o'clock as well, surprisingly, so the heat has definitely got Andrew, considering that he's in charge of the technological side of the show. So he's got the console in front of him.
No, remember, don't bash the person who's in control of the show.
Yeah, but it just means that when we come to films that I'm reviewing, if you're going to kick me off the air or mute my mic, then how are you going to handle the movies that I'm reviewing, considering that you might not have seen any of them?
No, I've seen most of them in the DVD bit, I think. I haven't seen one of them, yeah.
Yeah, well, we'll see how that goes then. Well, in the cinema section, we're looking at 3 films, and my guessing is 2 of them you've not seen.
Yeah, well...
Okay, then, so good luck with muting me then during those films. Yeah. So the 3 films we're looking at in the cinema section are...
we have it is the 5th, isn't it?
Yes.
It's in the Ice Age series, Collision Course. We have a small indie kind of comedy thriller with Keanu, all around a missing kitten. And we have a rounding out with a Turkish horror film in Baskin. I'm not sure I'm pronouncing that right. Baskin. Okay.
Or in English it means read.
Okay.
And on Blu-ray and DVD we're looking at these films.
On this week's show we have quite a big sort of selection of films. Starting off with, we have the sequel to Olympus Has Fallen, with London Has Fallen. We have the Ben Wheatley movie High Rise with Tom Hiddleston. We have British kind of horror thriller in The Witch. We have a true story with Robert Redford and Cate Blanchett in Truth. We have an animation with Norm of the North, and rounding out with a small indie film with Nicolas Cage and Elijah Wood in The Trust.
Yeah, and on top of that we have our TV movie of the week, the Blu-ray DVD top 10, the UK box office top 10. Movie news is where we always start, so let's kick things off with the movie news then.
Yep, I've only got one piece this week, although there's not a lot this week really, is there?
No, I'm keeping my eye out on news now because you know that's something that
always,
up on there.
Yeah, always happens during the show. But this is regarding Star Trek movies. Obviously, we had got a Star Trek film coming out next week with Star Trek Beyond. Although the next film after that, it's the 4th film in the new series, has been confirmed by J.J. Abrams as that it will be involving some aspect of time travel. He was talking with Scott Mantz from Access Hollywood, who after the interview tweeted, "Breaking, J.J. Abrams confirms to me that a 4th Star Trek movie will bring together Chris Pine and Chris Hemsworth." For anyone who doesn't realise, going back to J.J. Abrams' first Star Trek film, the character that played James T. Kirk's father, who we are introduced to at the beginning of the new films, was played by none other than Chris Hemsworth.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, so of course, I mean, he was a character that we saw at the very first, the first film, the first J.J. Abrams Star Trek film. and it was really kind of just before everything exploded for him. So it was interesting to see that. But obviously they're going to bring him back in some form for the next film after Star Trek Beyond, which comes out next week, and we'll be reviewing that next week.
Yeah, Chris Pine is the same age as me. He is 35, coming up to 36. Chris Hemsworth is 32, so he's younger.
Yeah, that's a bit weird.
Yeah, timey-wimey, wibbly-wobbly stuff going on there, because there will be different time frames. Obviously, it's like 25 years in the past, isn't it? Right about that the James T. Kirk's father scene happened at the start of the first Star Trek movie by J.J. Abrams. So
yeah, which changed things obviously, because the original, I think in the original timeline thing, it was a thing that his father was there, and it's very much a different thing.
Yeah, well, they're gonna have to do some kind of wormhole timey-wimey thing if they're gonna have both Chris Hemsworth and Chris Pine, considering that Pine is older than Hemsworth. So it's the only way they can get around that kind of thing, isn't it? Other news, like Andrew said, is very little in the way of news this week. I've only got a couple of pieces, and they're not like big breaking pieces of news. But according to Deadline, a live-action Pokemon film is getting fast-tracked after the success of Pokemon Go. Now, if people don't know what Pokemon Go is, or if you've been living under a rock, Pokemon Go is the latest fad or craze from Niantic Studios, working alongside the Pokemon Company / Nintendo, and it gets people out on the streets to try and capture Pokemon at different locations. It's that's it. That's the basic premise of it. However, check out all the weird stories online. Everything from people going into the Auschwitz Museum to catch Ghastlies, all the way up to people walking off the edge of cliffs. Literally, people walking off the edge of cliffs. It's insane. Well, Legendary Pictures looks like the studio that is going to nab the rights to a live-action Pokemon film, and Max Landis is tasked with writing the script for it.
I'm not. I mean, Max Landis is. He's written stuff that I can't think what it actually is, but I know him obviously for something, and I can't think. Was it Chronicle? Yeah. Yes. No, it wasn't Chronicle. It was something else. I don't know, but I mean, he's obviously he's a good writer. Question is, will he be good at writing this? It's that question of the thing. Something, if the writer's into it, then they'll do a good job. If the writer's not into it, then they won't care.
Well, he did American Ultra as well. He wrote that. And he also
that's what it was. That's what it was. He wrote and directed that, didn't he?
He did the screenplay for Victor Frankenstein.
Oh dear.
And he's written a new Power Rangers movie.
Oh dear. Oh no, but it was American Ultra was one, because he did direct that as well, didn't he?
No,
I think.
He didn't direct.
Did not direct it? I thought he did. Okay. No, but it's but the thing is, it's like American Ultra. You look at it, it's a thing that it should have been very, very funny, and it just wasn't. And a lot of that was down to, first of all, the directing and the way it was done, but second,
which was from the guy who did Project X.
But also part of the problem is the script. Some of the script just wasn't there for it. It was very, very basic, and it didn't really set up a lot of the thing. And it just should have been a lot more there, and it wasn't. So him as a writer doing this, I am concerned.
The thing is, though, it is a concern, but because the fact that it's Legendary Pictures that's involved, they can sort of get round that by having big, huge, massive special effects and try to cover plot holes, because that's what they'll try to do. Because Legendary Pictures are noted for making huge, massive movies. They have started to dabble into smaller films, but they're predominantly known for huge, massive movies. That's because the fact that they are now owned by a Chinese company. So they're backed by a ton of money. So if they look at the script and think, you know what, it's basic, but we can do something with it by making the special effects and things like that more noticeable rather than the plot holes. So they could do that, and Pokemon is not going to demand a very complex script.
No, that's true. But, so, it's Pokemon.
Yeah, and you've seen the way technology has advanced over the last 5 years. Actually, if you look from the advancement of technology from Avatar up to now, it took a big, huge, massive leap, and you would not have thought that from Avatar that technology would get better. But we've seen Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, we've seen things like Jungle Book, and all this motion captured stuff has become such an advanced thing that it should be obviously much more easier to make a Pokemon film, a live-action Pokemon film now than it would have been, say, 10 years ago when Pokemon was probably at its peak.
We're spending far too much time on Pokemon here, I think.
Yeah, it's doable. That's because there's very little else in the news. It looks like the Warcraft movie will not be getting a sequel. The film bombed at the US box office, taking just $48 million. However, it did really well in China, where it made $220.8 million in total. Overall, the film so far has taken $430 million worldwide, looking to make a small overall loss of $15 million. However, the studio is put off from making a sequel.
I'd be disappointed if they don't make a sequel. I think this is all going to come down to how well it does on DVD and Blu-ray everywhere, because I think it will be a big seller on DVD and Blu-ray. I think it might be a case of that they'll go, oh, hang on a minute, this is actually doing okay. So I think it's too early to say for definite. I think it's close to being made into a sequel, and I want a sequel because I liked the first one.
Yeah, and Duncan Jones says that he has got stuff for the DVD and Blu-ray release that will make the story more coherent and make it much better. So there is extra footage to be seen. So that's possible. It could happen. So we'll see what happens there. The Rock, or Dwayne Johnson as we now know him, has now become the world's highest paid actor. He earned $64.5 million from June 2015 to June 2016. So beating people like Tom Cruise. And Robert Downey Jr., surprisingly. So, yep, he's now the world's highest paid actor. Going from wrestling to acting. Well done to him. A couple of small pieces. It has been now 100% revealed that Alden Ehrenreich has now been confirmed as playing Young's Han Solo. I thought that was already confirmed last week, but it was supposedly confirmed at the Star Wars convention over the weekend. Yeah,
I wonder if it's going to mean that he's being sort of done in time so they can shoot a segment to add him in some form in a small, appearance in Rogue One. It was rumoured,
but I think they've turned around and said that's not happening.
I wouldn't put it past Disney to do it. They did it with a lot of the Marvel films. They've done it with, everything else. So I wouldn't be surprised if they did.
Well, it has also been confirmed that Rogue One will not have an opening scroll. So
yeah, it doesn't need one.
That are making it slightly different from the traditional Star Wars films. But yeah, I think they have said that he will not be appearing in Rogue One. But it's Phil Lord and Christopher Miller. They were at the Star Wars convention over the weekend because they're the ones who's directing the Han Solo film, and they brought Alden Ehrenreich out on stage and confirmed that he is playing the young Han Solo. Final piece of news, it's been confirmed that the new Ghostbusters film will not be released in China due to the film promoting cults or superstitions. So China does not allow that in films unless it's sort of like Chinese centric. So the Ghostbusters itself went in at number 2, the US box office, taking around out $48 million. It's now going to lose out on the second biggest territory on the globe, soon to be the biggest territory when it comes to takings at the box office, so it might harm it a little bit, even though Sony has turned around and says that a sequel is probably going to happen.
Well, I still haven't seen this one yet, so I'm not a big Ghostbusters fan, but everything I'm hearing about this one is like, yeah, okay, maybe I'll go and see it if I get time, if I got a chance, then maybe I will. But I'm very kind of just like, it's Ghostbusters. I don't care really.
But it is harming the film itself not getting released in a territory like China, because you look at things like Warcraft, for example, and Pacific Rim. They didn't do very well at the US box office, but they did brilliantly well over in China, and that boosted its takings tenfold. And so it's going to lose out on a big chunk of money. It
didn't make it into the top spot as well in this week's US chart either. It was hoping to, but Secret Life of Pets beat it. So
yeah, but it's just a harm for the film itself. No matter how well it's going to do across the globe, it's not going to be able to make up for its losses from China, because that'll be a good quarter, maybe third of its entire takings if it got released in China. So unfortunately for people in China, no Ghostbusters for you. Well, legally anyway. But it's really hard to torrent things and stuff like that in China, so because their internet is very, very strict. So you definitely won't be getting Ghostbusters then. Sorry. UK box office top 10 then.
Starting at number 10 with Me Before You.
Last week it's going to be in the charts. It's going to exit the charts with just over £9 million. It's so well done for a very humdrum, straightforward romantic drama.
Neon Demon is at number 9, which you haven't seen yet, have you?
Not yet. I've been trying my best to seek the Neon Demon out because I'm slightly interested by it, even though I really didn't like Only God Forgives.
Yeah, the thing is, I have issues with Neon Demon. Definitely with the second half of the film. The first half of the film I really, really did like, and I really loved the performances in it. They're really good performances from Jenna. I forget her name now.
I know who you mean, but I can't remember her name off the top of my head.
Who's in the film? I can't remember her. She is really, really great sort of performance in the film. As is I forget the name of the actor. Elle Fanning, yes, thank you. It's like really, really good. There's scenes between them that are really good and just very simple, just performances scenes. There's not anything special going in a lot of them. But it's the last half of the film where it really does start to lose you, and it just sometimes I feel it went very too far. I kind of want to see it again. As much as I was just like, oh yeah, okay, and it's very strong the second half of the film. I do want to go back and see it again because I did enjoy parts of it, but I just had this nagging thing with it. So I have this feeling that on further watching I will like it more because I do have this kind of thing. Like I said, I do want to see it again, but my initial reaction to it is partly maybe of shock of the second half of the film, but it's a film which goes very off the deep end and it's a bit much.
See, for me, the reason why I really want to see it's not down to Nicholas Winding Refn, because I think he's become a very hit/miss director, in my opinion. It's down to the fact that I've been hearing that it's got a very giallo kind of feel to it, so very like Mario Bava kind of movie, so late 60s, middle 70s, up to very, very early 80s Italian horror. And that's the part that's interesting me, because it's been such a long time since I've seen a very good giallo movie, because I think Barbarian Sound Studio was the last movie that's got that kind of feel to it, and even though Dario Argento has tried to get that feel again and failed absolutely miserably with the last Dracula movie, I'm slightly interested in it because of the giallo connection.
Yeah, it definitely has that kind of feel for the second half of the film.
Yeah.
That's the part, as I say, where it goes very off the deep end and gets kind of like, whoa, sort of thing, you know.
Goes into territories of like early Cronenberg or
yes,
stuff like that.
Very, very much, yeah.
Gaspar Noé's irreversible movies. I'm more interested in it now, but it's finding a cinema that's showing it.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the list of releases and things, it was only shown at 120 screens. Which is actually the lowest, I think, in the top 10, apart from one other film which just has one more, has 121 sites. So that's surprising. But I mean, it's the fact it's an 18 rated film. You don't really get them that often now. It's one that definitely deserves it, but it's obviously 18 rated films do limit the audience that can view the film.
They do.
Number 8 is The Conjuring 2, the Enfield case.
Yeah, you take a small little case like the Enfield case and you Americanise it. James Wan has got a knack for doing these kind of films, and I'm not as sniffy with the film as a lot of critics have been. I thought the film was actually really good. I think it's down to the chemistry between Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga, which helps the movie along. And also the fact that James Wan really does know how to create a very suspenseful horror film. It's just that the case itself is very... I don't want to say a minor, but it has got a minor feel to it. It's a very small little one, and the drama that was released last year on Sky Atlantic is got like the better kind of feel of what...
Was that just called The Enfield Haunting, wasn't it?
Yeah. So that drama there had a much more better feel to what the Enfield case was actually about, but still, if you like the first Conjuring, then you're gonna really like this one.
Okay, number 7 is Independence Day Resurgence.
Regurgence, more like it. It's taken a lot of tropes from the first one and just does absolutely nothing with them. There is no chemistry, the special effects aren't even kind of stuff. It's not brain dead in the fun kind of manner, it's just brain dead. It's just a very missed opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I'm going to say is again about it is that I love the first one has this whole thing of like, this is the big effects thing, and it knows the effects of the big thing, and it lets you see them. It's literally just a case of, wow, look at this effect, and stays on it for 30 seconds. Whereas this one is literally like taking the Michael Bay approach in a bad way of just cut, effect, and it's literally just overwhelming with so much going on that it's just kind of like, well, yeah, I'm bored.
Yeah.
Number 6 is a new entry for Sultan,
which is a Bollywood film. Salman Khan is the only person who I recognise in the cast of that, and I've just had a look see what the film's about. It's about a mixed martial artist, and it's just him trying to get back to his winning martial arts ways. It's done really well for itself, so much so that it's the biggest taking Bollywood film this year. So yeah, well done to it. But again, Bollywood films, we don't have access to them, even though it has been shown on 121 screens.
Yeah,
we don't have access to them.
This is the one that got pretty much the same screens as Neon Demon.
Yeah, because the Bollywood movies, they're predominantly shown in like cinemas across the south end of the UK, so from London maybe upwards to maybe getting close to the north, and then that's where they normally stop.
Well, you do get them. I mean, you get them in Glasgow. Gets them because it's obviously the Glaswegian area does have a big sort of Bollywood following. So you have that. You know, there is an audience for it there. But I mean, other cinemas around Glasgow is where it becomes a lot more sparse to be able to see anything sort of Bollywood made.
See, that's where Sunderland should have something like that, because we have such an eclectic group of people who live in Sunderland, everybody from Chinese to Indian people to Russian people, that my cinema, the one cinema that is in a big city like Sunderland, only shows the big movies, and that's it. There isn't another small cinema that could show foreign language films or Bollywood movies. It's really difficult to try and find a cinema that's showing them.
Central Intelligence is at number 5.
A movie that's not a complete washout. It's much better than I had anticipated it to be, because when you see the name Kevin Hart crop up on a movie, you sort of like, well, I do anyway, I wince. But it's helped by the fact that the chemistry between him and Dwayne Johnson works. And so some of the jokes are funny, some of the jokes fall flat, but it is better than I actually thought it would be.
It is very much a rehash of it. I think though of that film Night and Day, with The Rock basically channeling Tom Cruise's performance from that film.
Yeah.
Number 4 is Absolutely Fabulous, the movie.
You've seen this, I haven't.
Yeah.
I'm definitely glad I haven't.
Yeah, be glad you haven't. I mean, the thing is, it's very, very flat with the comedy that's supposedly in there. I laughed at it once. That was it, and that was a gag with a cameo in it from I keep forgetting the name now. Rebel Wilson, who's in it for a small appearance, and the rest of the film, which I didn't laugh once, didn't get into it. It's definitely got the vibe of the series. Cause I do remember the series. I didn't massively follow it, but I saw the occasional episode, and it's one of these typical British comedy series taken to film, and it just doesn't have that spark that the comedy has of the series. It's just not there.
Yeah.
Number 3 is Now You See Me Too,
which it's not a very good sequel at all. The first one had 3 really good set pieces. Yeah, they dwindled a little bit in quality, but still they were quite entertaining set pieces, and the stuff in between was very flimsy, but it's sort of like flimsy stuff that worked, because Louis Leterrier sort of like was able to stitch them together really well. He didn't do that at all with Grimsby, but I still think that's not his fault. Whereas with this one, they've got a director in John M. Chu who's more akin to the Step Up kind of films, and also directing music videos. And you would think that being able to choreograph a film, he would actually be able to choreograph some really good set pieces, when in fact he only manages to do one, and that one is still slightly too long. So the whole film itself is just a bit of disappointment. It's not very interesting at all. And when it does finally get to the main set piece that you're hoping is going to be sort of like explosive, it's just very boring. There's just nothing to it, because it pretty much explains it all and gives it all away. Yes, it did that in the previous film, but not with the first 2 main set pieces. With the last one, it did. With this one, no, it just gave it all away, going, yes, you're dumb, this is what happens, this is how we're going to do it. Well, what was the point of watching it then?
Number 2 is new entry for Legend of Tarzan.
Another film which was very disappointing considering David Yates, who did the last couple of Harry Potter films. He's got a pedigree of doing like really entertaining movies, and unfortunately with this one, it just everything falls majorly flat. It's not interesting, it's not exciting. The CGI is very ropey at times, especially when you get to the last 20 minutes, and for example the stampede scene, it's just really dodgy when it comes to the special effects on that front there. It just sags a lot when you expect the film to have a good flow to it, and it just becomes boring and lethargic.
Which means the number 1 film is still Secret Life of Pets.
Very entertaining movie. It flows along really well. It's got some really good gags in it. It's very nicely animated. Not brilliantly animated, but nicely animated. It pops, it shines. There's lots of colour in the film itself. There's jokes there for both adults and kids. And it's just wholly entertaining. And that's exactly what these kind of films should be. Wholly entertaining.
Yep, I agree. I mean, it's a fun animated film. It is animation getting into the whole kind of Disney style of things. So them going, leaving the minions behind and going for the animals thing. But it works really well. It's funny, it's witty, has some great kind of moments in it which are just brilliant for the whole thing of how the animals act when their owners go, which do get the laughs. It's a film that does get laughs. You can't deny that. But it's it's a fun film.
Yeah, and before we go on to the first review of the night, just a quick little piece of news that I forgot to mention in the news section. It's sort of like a crossover between film and TV. The new Star Trek TV series is going to be exclusive to Netflix in the UK.
Okay, I'm surprised by that.
Yeah, which is sort of like in a way a little bit of a good sign, because then if a studio, if the TV station where it's getting shown in America decide to cancel it, Netflix can go, you know what, we'll show it. Because Netflix is really good with their TV series, so
I think it's because it's getting shown in America on I can't remember what it is now, but it's like a channel's pay-per-view thing, but it's only in America they have it. They don't have it in other countries, so they don't have obviously the distribution worldwide for showing it.
I'm so glad though that Netflix has picked it up, considering how much Netflix costs. It's much better than having to pull out like £25 for a basic Sky subscription to watch it. So it's a big, huge, massive plus on that front there. But I'm happy with that, because I've just not long resubscribed to Netflix, and I'm happy that I have, because I'm starting to really enjoy Netflix again.
I've got to catch up on a whole bunch of Netflix series actually. I haven't had the time. It's like as soon as I get the chance, I'm going to sit down and I'm just going to completely, veg out watching complete seasons. I've still got most of Marco Polo to watch, and I'm looking forwards to the second season when it does come out of the Wachowskis series.
Oh yeah, I know what
Sense8, yeah, Sense8. Because as slow as it was the first season, I wasn't a fan of the speed of it, but I did love it and the idea of it. So I'm looking forward to seeing, because it's getting the second season. It's just delayed because it costs and it's difficult to make it, because it literally goes all around the world. So
and, if you're a fan of 80s things like The X-Files and The Outer Limits, I highly recommend the Stranger Things.
Yeah, I have that to watch as well. Everyone says it's good.
There's only 8 episodes of it, and I've only seen the first 2 so far, but it is very, very 80s in its feel, and I think you'll really like it. I'm really liking what I'm watching, and I'm going to stick with it.
It sounds a bit to me like Erie, Indiana.
It's very Erie, Indiana, sort of like X-Files, Outer Limits-esque kind of stuff, so if you're a fan of that kind of stuff, I highly recommend it. But on cinema reviews, Ice Age Collision Course. Now, we were just talking about Secret Life of Pets and Illumination Studios, with how sort of like they branched away from doing Minions movies to making the Secret Life of Pets. Now, Blue Sky Studios, that's not the case with them. They've seemed to stuck with their guns with the Ice Age series, and it's a series that's been dwindling in quality quite a bit, because they've tried to heavily rely on the main character in Scrat. Scrat was a small little character who they introduced in the first film. He was done there for comic relief, just sort of like as a promo kind of thing. And then because Scrat was the one that people were latching themselves onto and found more interest with him, they decided to make him more prominent, so much so that he's actually the central character of Ice Age Collision Course, because the film itself opens up with Scrat discovering an alien spaceship in ice when he's trying to get this Acorn, as he has been over the course of 5 films. He gets launched into space, and then he manages to create pretty much the Big Bang. He's the one actually responsible for the death of the dinosaurs. So back on Earth, we've got the characters of, say, Diego, Manny, and then you've got Queen Latifah's character, who sees everything that's happening in the sky, and so it's up to them, with the help of Simon Pegg's character, to try and trek across the lands to this huge, massive crater, where they can find a way of sending this meteorite that's ready to crash into the Earth all the way back up into space and save the planet. Here's a clip.
I can't believe it! Visitors! We've never had visitors! Somebody pinch me! Or should I pinch you? Wait, I'll pinch both of us!
Did I hit my head? What's happening here?
I sure hope this isn't a... dream.
This guy?
For real? Whatever.
Ah! Whoa! Whoa! Whoa!
Well, hello, handsome. I'm Brooke. Ooh, such exquisite bone structure. Such a strong jaw. I'm getting butterflies.
I'm getting nauseous.
Did you find that clip annoying?
I found it very meh. I really did.
Yeah, that pretty much sums up the entirety of Ice Age Collision Course, because you've got other new characters in the form of Adam Devine's character, and Jennifer Lopez crops up in the film along with Sean William Scott and Jessie J, as you heard there, and there's a sort of like a small little story thrown into there about Manny's daughter, and she falling in love and getting ready to move out and marry. And so you've got that story there, but you've always got Scrat's story, which it goes to every now and again, because it realizes there's very little to the story that's happening on Earth. And so when it needs the Scrat stuff, you think, yay, we're finally going to get a bit of comic relief, but it's pretty much all the jokes we've seen before. One or two of them, it did make me grin, one made me snigger. And it made a few kids in the screening snigger as well. One, it was actually in the trailer where you see Scrat, his fur just peel away from him, and you just see him skeleton and then screaming like he's just standing there naked. So the younger audiences was giggling at that, and sort of like that's the thing with the Ice Age movies. They release them in such gaps that there's a different younger audience who goes to see the movies, because the film series has been going on for a good 15 years, and so the people who watched it from when the first one came out, they're sort of like much older now, and so they would not be interested in a new Ice Age movie, so they need to try and find new audiences. The way they think they're doing that is by repeating the same story over and over and over again. So we've seen the same story for 5 films in a row now, and it becomes a bit lethargic after the second film. After the 5th film, it just becomes, would you just come up with a decent idea, a new idea, because you know that you can't take these characters any further. Yet they do that. They just squeeze every tiny little drop out of them, and the film itself is very lazy. Animation wise, it's fine. It's not the best thing out there, but it's fine. But the whole film itself is very, very lazy.
I haven't seen the last. I haven't seen that one. I haven't seen this one. I haven't seen the last one of the Ice Age films. I've seen the other 3, I think.
Continental Drift.
Yeah.
Was the last
one. No, I haven't seen Continental Drift. I've seen. Well, the 3D one, Ice Age 3D, was the first kind of 3D one that you had for the home release. I'm not sure about 2 if that was 3D as well. But
Meltdown and was the second one, I think, and Dawn of the Dinosaurs.
Dawn
I think was the
Dawn
third
of the Dinosaurs,
one.
yeah, or something like that. Was.
And then Continental Drift, because Ice Age, the first film, came out in 2002, and I've just hit my hand off the desk. So I was, it's 14 years old. The first Ice Age movie, so there's a 14-year gap. So that was a good guess when I said 15 years. But a 14-year gap from the first one up to this one, and they're still using exactly the same story. It just tells you what kind of series the Ice Age series is. It's that kind of thing that might work well straight to DVD, but because it's got that name and it's got so many big actors doing voices in it, they need to release it in the cinemas. I think it's finally going to prove to the company that they do really need to think of something new. Because didn't they do Rio as well?
Rio 2, yeah, as well. Cause
which again was just, both films just felt really lazy.
Yeah. Okay, on to Keanu, which is directed by Peter Atencio. It is, if you're in America, you'll know of Peele and Kay, or Kay and Peele, I don't know which order they went in. But it's Jordan Peele and Keegan-Michael Kay, who these two men who had this kind of a comedy show on Comedy Central. And it's the two of them have carried on after that show's finished. Now they've gone into working together to come up with this, which is a comedy kind of buddy movie thing with those two characters. They have one of them is a guy who is married and everything's fine with him. His wife's going away for a sort of working holiday thing. So she says to him, go have fun with your friend. And his friend, the other one, is played basically as a guy who has just recently been dumped and left on his own. So he is down in the dumps, all completely fallen to pieces, until he is scratching at his door, which he opens the door and finds this absolutely little adorable cute kitten there, which he completely sort of takes in and finds to be completely everything to him. Calls it Keanu. And ends up, getting into that until, unfortunately, then the house is broken into one night. Him and his friend come back and find the house is completely trashed. Keanu is gone, and they end up finding that the cat has been taken because of the fact of that their house has been mistaken for the drug dealer that lives across the street from them. So they end up getting involved in all these drug dealing things. They end up pretending to be these two drug dealers that are well known to be sort of the worst of the worst, don't mess with these guys sort of thing, and they end up pretending to be these guys and agreeing to lead a couple of guys, a group, on a mission in order to get Keanu back. Here's a clip.
So seriously, what's gonna happen now before we get on this job, it's time for us to all get to know each other a little bit better. We're gonna go in a circle first of all, and everyone's gonna say their name and then two things about yourself. For instance, my name is Shark Tank, and I ran hurdles in high school, and I like to hold my gun like this. So that's me.
Tectonic. I once shot 2 dudes with 1 bullet, and I went to an exclusive early screening of the Blair Witch Project.
You did?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
See, before we even knew if it was real or not.
Go on.
I'm Bud, and I got into gangbanging after I got stabbed by my mom.
I'm gonna need 2 things,
and my grandma.
Well, them family reunions get crazy sometimes, man. Thanks for sharing, brother.
You were laughing at that clip there of the whole thing of the guy got into gang after he got stabbed by his mum.
Yeah, I found that bit quite funny.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a thing that I didn't find that particularly funny. And the thing is, it's a film that there's a lot of jokes like that are just fall flat for me. They just completely fell flat for me. There's this whole thing of they're sent on this mission, and there are some funny bits in it. I mean, there's a bit they're sent on a mission, and it turns out to be that they have to go and basically make a drug deal at this Hollywood celebrity's house, and it turns out to be Anna Faris, the actress Anna Faris, playing herself.
Oh, well, she's good at doing that, though.
Yeah, and she's playing completely ditzy and kind of coked out of her head sort of a thing, and it's kind of bizarre and funny in that kind of a way. And there's some little bits here and there that do make it laugh, but there's a lot more that doesn't work for me than does work. It really feels very stretched out for a film that is just trying to check exactly how long it is again. It's 100 minutes, so it's an hour and 40 minutes, and it feels literally like it's barely got sort of an hour's worth of material, because it stretches out one thing and then it goes into another, and it's like one of these films where it starts off with one thing and you think, right, okay, fine, you've done that bit, and then all of a sudden that turns into this, and it turns into this, and you kind of just keeps spitballing, and it just feels very much like they're just going, oh, we need to make this longer, we'll do this, oh, this is going to run, and I just found that very, very much, I was getting bored with it the more it went on. There is a couple, as I say, of moments where it's funny. There is lots of things where you have this weird thing of the whole kitten is there, and it's all connected with everything. It's the whole, convenience thing is very much kind of, oh yeah, okay, didn't see that coming, sort of thing. And I laughed a couple of times, but I really think it's very, very much missing the mark of this film. It just doesn't make me laugh as much as it should.
See, the film itself is about them looking for the missing cat or the stolen cat. So has it got any kind of feel like Seven Psychopaths? Because Seven Psychopaths is more aimed at people kidnapping dogs. But did you find Seven Psychopaths more funnier than?
I found Seven Psychopaths more funnier because it was maybe the whole thing of it being it was a lot more bleaker comedy than this. I mean, the thing of this is it has these two characters who you have these two characters that are black characters. They're black actors, and yet they play them as in the whole thing of that one of them is completely very not the tough man. You heard them in there in that clip, and they're playing putting on the whole thing of being tough gangsters sort of thing. But in the rest of the time, there's one of the characters who is completely you could almost confuse him for someone who was gay in that whole very much that kind of high raised voice and scream sort of things, sort of thing. And the character, he loves listening to George Michael. There's actually one of the funny sequences is him sitting in the car with three other guys there who are all gangbangers, and he's sitting there and they're playing that and they're like questioning him, what the hell is this? And by the end of the scene, he basically converts them to George Michael fans. And that kind of stuff is funny, and that kind of stuff could actually have been really, really good. Because the thing is, when the character starts having to pretend to be a gangster, he actually starts using the N-word a lot, and it's kind of like it almost sets up the thing of I don't want to use the N-word, but I'm gonna, and then he gets into it, starts using it, and it never. It's like it could have really commented on that or something. The use of it being, and playing to the really bad black stereotypes, and it just doesn't. If it had done something like that, I maybe would have gone into it more, because I would have thought, that's quite good, quite clever, take on that sort of a thing. But it just doesn't. It never does. It has these moments where it could have really kind of made a good, even just jokey commentary on that sort of thing, and really played with the whole. Those whole stereotypes of the things, and then it could have been really quite witty, but it never does.
Okay then, right, on to the final cinema release of the week. It's a small release, Turkish horror film, so there's two things you would never thought would actually come together: Turkey and horror movies.
Does it have a coup in it?
That would have worked if it was a pigeon horror movie, but it's not a pigeon horror film. Yeah. It's based on a short story which was released in 2013, and a short film released the same year from exactly the same director, who was Can Evrenol. This is his full feature directorial debut. Baskin, for the first half of the film, it centres around a rookie police officer who, along with the squad that he is tasked with, is called in to try and find this missing police squad. This missing police squad has gone out to investigate something, and they've just disappeared. So this squad has been sent in to try and discover what's happened to them. So they trek through forests, trying to find this place where supposedly the last sighting of the missing police officers were. Once they discover it, that's when the film sort of like flips and changes. So it moves from thriller territory into grisly, nasty, over-the-top, gory horror movie. And so they discover something nasty inside this abandoned place. I'm not going to give it away, because it's more interesting for you to actually find out. So the film itself, because it's a movie of two halves, it's a movie of two different feelings. The first half of the film has got a more lethargic, plodding pace to it. It builds up characters, and then you think that it's going to go for more of a psychological feel to it, because there's there's few scenes which involve sort of like flashbacks and things like, for example, the rookie cop. You see flashbacks of what kept him up at night when he was a child, these nightmares that he was having, whether they were real or whether they were just something that his mind was creating. And so for the first half of the film, you've got all of that running through it, and so there's always an undercurrent of uneasiness. When it gets to the second half of the film, and when it gets to the over-the-top gore stuff, that's when it becomes sort of like the Gorno kind of feel movie. So if you're if you're really interested in movies that throw buckets of blood at you and quite like harsh, shocking scenes, then you'll really like the second half of the film. If you're into films that have got more of a lethargic pace to it, you'll be more into the first half of the film. It's really difficult to try and be a fan of both at the same time, because you're having to switch your brain. So you're taking your brain from plodding to something that goes really fast and hectic. And it's really difficult to do that. And when your brain has actually managed to do that, the film is pretty much over. And my feeling of the film is it's average because of the fact that it tries to do that. And now I'm a fan of both sides of it. I love movies that take their time, but I also love movies that is just out there to have a bit of fun and loads of gore. It's hard to actually be a fan of both sections of films at exactly the same time. So it's worth a watch for both sections of fans, but you can tell that each one will start to like fall asleep. So the people who love the plotting stuff will just look at the Gorno stuff and go, that's not what I'm watching this film for. Yet the people who love the Gorno stuff will be sitting there going, when is this going to start? So it's a movie that's sort of like slack bang in the middle, but it is worth a watch if you're a horror fan. It's out on DVD and Blu-ray quite soon as well, I think in about a month's time, so if you haven't got a cinema that's not showing it, then it's going to be slightly more easier to get when it gets released on Blu-ray and DVD. But that's it for the cinema section. We'll be back in a moment with the Blu-ray and DVD section of the show.
There was a real sense of you were doing something wrong, but that did give it that feeling of excitement.
When the reveal of the film happens, that's when it just becomes absurd.
And the atmosphere and just the sense you get whenever you go into it is undeniable.
It did absolutely zero for me, which could be for the hype.
What we've just discussed there is just scratching the surface on it.
Hi, I'm Eric England, the director of Contracted, and you're listening to From Page to Screen, the horror show.
And we're back with this week's Monday Movie Show on the home release section with DVD and Blu-ray releases. This week we'll be covering these ones.
Gerard Butler returns to try and protect the president again. That's really difficult to say when you've just had a mouthful of water. But to protect the president again in over-the-top action sequel London Has Fallen. Then Ben Wheatley directs another strange movie based on a J.B. Ballard novel, or J.G. Ballard.
J.G. Ballard, yeah.
That person there. With High Rise, then small British horror film with The Witch, and then we've got drama with Truth, even though I've got it written down here as The Truth, and then animated adventure with Norm of the North, and then to round things off you've got The Trust, even though I've got it written down here as Trust.
Yeah, you got them both round the wrong way. Yeah. Different films to get confused. Okay. Before that, though, of course, DVD and Blu-ray top 10.
So at number 10 is the BFG.
Yeah, this is the original animation one, obviously, because Steven Spielberg's version is coming out soon in cinemas. I mean, it's one that if you are around about our age, in your 30s, then you probably did see it growing up a lot on TV. During holidays and stuff, and it is one of those films it's a very memorable one. It's a great animation. It's probably a bit dated now, but I mean it's a great animated one that you can watch with kids and everything. I think it's a U as well. So I mean it's a perfect thing for if you have got kids who haven't seen it, then definitely check it out. You maybe want to see take them to see the BFG at the cinema first, and then get that afterwards to show them this is what you watched growing up.
I would actually do it the opposite way around.
Yeah, well, there's that option. I kind of would be like, to see their first experience of it on the big screen kind of thing,
I would still prefer the original way around, because I'm going to be the one to review the BFG on next week's show, but I'd still prefer to watch it the other way around, the original and then Steven Spielberg's, Mark Rylance's version of it. Number 9 is a double bill of Ghostbusters and Ghostbusters 2.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's just because obviously Ghostbusters is out again, like BFG, something, being released. It's I mean, we see this every now and again with things, so I expect in a couple of weeks' time we'll have, a Jason Bourne box set of some sort, But it's Ghostbusters and Ghostbusters.
I would actually recommend people hunting down when they released Ghostbusters 2 on DVD about 5 years ago, because that one there there's some really good special features on the disc for Ghostbusters, and on Ghostbusters 2, there's 2 episodes of the animated TV series. Actually, 2 of the best episodes of the animated TV series as well. So you get a good bonus from that one there. So try to hunt down that. It's in sort of like green Slimer package. Ignore this one, unless that's this one anyway. At number 8 is Dad's Army,
which is disappointing. It doesn't really have the flair of the original series, and by that I mean the whole thing of the interesting thing of the characters. It's funny. I mean, it has some of that, but it's very, very lazy and slow, and not a lot happens, and it stretches out things. It really is the kind of the typical. It's like Absolutely Fabulous. It's very much a British. The problem of British comedies being adapted to a film, and is that the material doesn't transfer over because they don't really put enough in it.
Yeah. At number 7 is a new entry for Hail Caesar,
which I really, really loved. I thought it was very witty. I thought it was a very good laugh. I thought it was a laugh a minute through the whole film. Great performances. Josh Brolin's absolutely fantastic. It's got this great style of the whole thing of like 50s Hollywood, 50s, 60s Hollywood. I love the feel to it, and it even gets you into the whole thing of that. There's like a musical sing and dance thing with Channing Tatum's character at one point, and you just totally get into it and enjoy it, and it's got that kind of that magical quality of film.
I didn't recognise that was Christopher Lambert as well as his director.
Yeah, he plays the director in that sequence. Yeah.
Yeah, and I know somebody who's put Hail Caesar as their worst film of the year.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, they need to go back and watch it again.
I can name and shame the person if you want me to, but yeah, I did a podcast with them last night.
Okay.
And it's not Stuart neither.
It's not Stuart. Okay, because if it was, I would have got in touch with him too.
Yeah, but this person just named it as his worst film he's seen this year so far.
Oh, that's just wrong.
Considering I rattled off a list of films that I've seen this year, which are a million times worse than this. Because I didn't like it as much as you did, but I did still think I was entertained.
I think if you watch it again, I think it's a film that will grow on anyone they watch it more and more. Because it's that even just that whole thing of that would it were so simple, that whole thing.
Would it were so simple.
Would it were so simple.
Would it were so simple.
Yeah, exactly. It literally could just be a skit you could be doing with your friend, and everyone just gets into it. That sort of a thing. You can't watch the film and not get caught up in that sort of stuff.
Yeah. At number 6 is a new entry for The Boy.
I haven't seen this though.
Yeah, it tries to be like a Child's Play movie, but pretty much fails. It has a tiny little bit of creepiness to it, but it just does not have any scares to it whatsoever. It's very straightforward, very mundane. And the guy who directed it, he did do movies like Stay Alive and The Devil Inside. This is his best film, easily by a country mile. Even though Stay Alive had a few interesting ideas to it, but yeah, it's still, at least his quality is going up. So you never know, his next movie might be much better. Number 5 is The Revenant,
which is obviously the award-winning film that finally won Leonardo DiCaprio Best Acting Award, and deservedly so. Very visceral film, very graphically sort of shot and beautifully done. It was a film that he actually filmed in just natural light, and if it didn't get the light, they had to wait the next day to get it at the right time and stuff. And it's just an incredible kind of it's a movie of, I can't think of the right word for it, but basically, the test of them going through that and doing that, the whole struggle to get it made, sort of thing. And it's got a great performance by DiCaprio and Tom Hardy as well in the film too. It's a very, very, as I say, visual, and the feel of it. It loses something by being on a smaller screen, but so if you can get it on a big screen when you're watching it, you are all the better for it.
And number 4 is Grimsby,
which you're all the better for not seeing if you can avoid it. It's pretty bad.
Watch it on the smallest screen possible. If you've got one of those smart watches, try and watch it on that, because then at least you're going to squint at how bad it is.
Oh, it's a question of really how did Louis Leterrier get involved with this, and I think partly as well a lot of the humour doesn't work. The action sequences kind of do work, but that's what Louis Leterrier is good at.
That's why he was brought into it. He was there to direct Mark Strong.
Yeah, and I think the problem with it is that then I don't think that he gets a lot of the comedy in it. As much as there are some really bad, tasteless comedy, a lot of bad, tasteless bodily parts and bodily fluid humour, there are the setup for some good comedy here, but it just doesn't work. And I think it's partly he didn't get it as well. I think it just doesn't match.
Yeah. And number 3 is Deadpool.
I mean, what more can we say about this? Brilliant, fun, witty, graphic, violent, stupid, but brilliant.
Number 2 is a new entry for Kung Fu Panda 3.
Which I really liked. It is just kind of more of the same, but if you like the Kung Fu Panda films up to now, then you'll love this one just as much. I thought it was funny, it was great animation. It does look very, very gorgeous in parts of the animation, especially in this whole other realm sort of thing of the whole, you know, chi and energy, all that kind of thing. But it's, you know, it's a worthwhile kind of conclusion to the Kung Fu Panda trilogy.
Sort of. I think it's average. Again, sort of, it's starting to feel like the Ice Age series. It's a series that they've got...
I think that's a bit harsh.
I said it's starting to feel like it. I didn't say it was like it. Starting to get that feeling of it. It's a series, I think, it probably is about time that it did stop. It should stop at the 3rd one, because if you go on any further, then you're just diluting it more and more and more, and at the end you're not going to get a nice refreshing drink, you're just going to get a glass of water. And number 1 is a new entry for Allegiant, or Allegiant.
Which
All Giant.
I liked it more than you did. I do admit it has some problems of the whole thing of the first half of a book that's been adapted. I did think though that it's definitely better than Insurgent, the last movie, which was a complete kind of disregard of what made the first film, Divergent, so good. This kind of tries to step a little bit back on that, but not enough. It is still more closer in tone to Insurgent than Divergent. I'm going to get confused in a second with all these. And it's I do like it. I had fun with it. I thought it was nicely sort of composed and put together. I did think it's a little bit baggy, and I did kind of, by the end of it, go, okay, you know, there's another one coming that was mostly set up. I didn't hate it like you did. I think you had a lot more hatred for it because of the fact that it is clearly a filler kind of film and a setup for the last one. But I kind of enjoyed it because it did get a little bit more back to, you know, what it was that made Divergent fun than the second one, which was just completely brain dead action, which was just terrible.
Yeah, we've got one more film to go, and I'm sort of like happy that we've only got one more film to go.
Well, I mean, I'm looking forward to. I tell you this, I'm looking forward to the last one of that more than I was to the last one of Hunger Games.
We'll see what happens with it. I'm actually looking forward to the next Maze Runner film, even though Scorched Trials was not very good, but it was still better than Insurgent.
Okay, well, let's get on to this week's new releases then.
London Has Fallen. Yeah, who would have thought that Olympus Has Fallen would spawn a sequel? Sort of. It is a sequel in a way, even though it's got different title names. It's got the word Fallen and Has in it, but they've just relocated, so instead of it being in America, it's now in the UK. Babak Najafi is the one who's taken helm as director on this film. It still stars Gerard Butler, who plays Mike Banning, and Aaron Eckhart, who plays the president, Benjamin Asher. The film itself, after the Prime Minister of the UK passes away under mysterious circumstances. It's only ever alluded to the fact that he something was wrong with him. He was taken to hospital and then he passes away. All the head leaders of different countries attend his funeral in London. However, somebody has interesting plans for them. It's just an excuse to bring all these world leaders together and kill them. And so a huge massive uproar happens in London when we get loads of the monuments just destroyed, a lot of the world leaders destroyed, and Aaron Eckhart's president and Gerard Butler's Mike Banning needs to protect the president to try and get him back to American soil, because the president is the last person that these terrorists want. Here's a clip.
Amir Bakawi.
Number 6 on the 10 list.
This man is responsible for more deaths than the plague. Sells arms to every failed state in the world. He has a vast array of connections. Terrorists, mercenaries, corporations.
Mr. Vice President, it's Bakawi.
Put him through.
Thought you might take my call. You'll understand if I made it difficult to track.
You have me at somewhat of a loss. I thought you would have learned a lesson by now about crawling out of your hole.
Never lifted a finger against you.
You armed those who have.
I sold triggers, Mr. Trumbo, just like you.
What do you want?
Your president. You can end this right now. Just hand him over.
That's not going to happen.
Then every death from this moment forward will be on your head.
So you heard in the clip there the very stereotypical oogly boogly bad guy, ooh, I'm evil, I'm going to kill everybody, and ooh, everybody I'm going to kill is going to be on your head unless you give me somebody who I really want, because I'm going to mourn and cry unless you do that. And that's pretty much the entirety of what the film is like. You've got the stupid over-the-top set pieces, Gerard Butler's character just blasting people's heads off using pistols and shotguns and throwing grenades at them and smoke bombs and causing as much panic and stuff like that as he possibly can. Aaron Eckhart's president sort of like having a little cry in the corner and then realizing he needs to grow a pair of testicles, pulls out a gun and starts shooting a couple of people and going, yes, look at me, I'm a badass now, you can mistake me for being Rambo. And then you've got the really bad cheesy dialogue between Morgan Freeman's character and all the rest of the things on show. The film itself is horrible. It's considering that Olympus Has Fallen came out around about the same time as White House Down. Now, both of them were pretty much carbon copies of each other. They had the exact same kind of plot, but whereas one was fun and just stuck its tongue firmly in its cheek, the other one was trying to be serious, and so Olympus Has Fallen was the serious one and White House Down was the one that was fun. And I think White House Down sort of like it succeeded more so than Olympus Has Fallen, even though the special effects were very ropey at times in White House Down. I just think it worked slightly more, whereas Olympus Has Fallen was just trying to be more of like a serious movie, very much like a Die Hard, with a few little sarcastic quips just thrown into there, so very much like a Die Hard film. London Has Fallen has just completely just lost the plot. It's like the director and everybody involved has been constantly hit on their head, and they haven't gotten stuntmen involved with the movie. They're just getting the actors and just constantly smacking them on the head going, yep, you're making a very dumb movie, but not a dumb movie in the fun sense. You're making a dumb movie in the God, will you just stop it kind of sense. Because it has one set piece after another where pretty much everything you've seen in a million different films before happens. It's stupidly predictable from beginning to end. It's not entertaining. These kind of films, when you have these kind of movies, you need them to be entertaining, and it even falls flat on its face when it tries to be entertaining. It's not visually pleasing, it's visually boring. It's just overall the whole film itself it's terrible.
Yeah, I mean, going back to Olympus Has Fallen, which I did enjoy quite a bit.
So do I, did I actually.
And the thing is, you're saying about the whole thing about being serious, and there was White House Down as well, which was more kind of comedy thing of it. But the thing is that, going back to that, Olympus Has Fallen came out, and I think it did come out, I'm right in saying, either the year after or the same year as Die Hard 5 did. And it did Die Hard on a much better scale than Die Hard did. You know, it did that whole thing of the character and the seriousness, the serious angle of it, and I was like, you know, Olympus Has Fallen really did impress me as being. It has like one point in it has a big 10-minute sequence, which is the actual attack on the White House, which is really impressively choreographed, and it's literally, you could just take that 10 minutes and just go, have a look at that. That's how you do a solid and long, and yet still entertaining long action sequence for 10 minutes to set up something. And it has all that in the first film, and it's a better Die Hard film than Die Hard was. And then this film, they basically went, oh yeah, let's do the Die Hard sequel, and just do the absolute terrible crap thing of it is basically what they did with Die Hard 5. It is a film that just goes dumb action, no real character, if anything. I mean, no real dialogue, nothing really, anything that's interesting. Even the action is boring. The action just becomes boring because it's so much and there's nothing interesting about it. You're literally there going, oh yeah, that happens, oh yeah, seen that, yeah, no, that's again, yeah, guy shoots someone, okay, yeah. Nothing interesting, nothing. It's not done with any style. The first one, I can't remember who directed this one, but the first one was done by Anton Fuqua, who has got an eye for visual flair for stuff like that. And this one just doesn't have it, because it's not him. You don't know who it is in front of you, do you?
Babak Najafi.
Yeah, I don't even recognise the name. It is someone who's...
a couple of episodes of Banshee.
Yeah, and it's basically someone who's been brought in to basically make the sequel. Because apparently Anton Fuqua looked at the script and balked because of it, because the script is that bad. So he knew, no, this isn't going to be really good, I'm not going to do it. And that's the point the studio should have gone, no, hang on a minute, he's going to leave and not do it. We need to look at this again and come up with something better, because it definitely needs something better.
Yeah, Good Day to Die Hard, White House Down, and Olympus Has Fallen were all released in 2013.
Yeah, so it's that's the whole thing of it. If there'd been a Die Hard film out this year, it probably would have been just as bad as this. Obviously we're supposedly getting a new Die Hard thing, which would be just stupid anyway. But anyway, going on.
Yep.
High Rise, which is the movie based on the novel by J.G. Ballard. It's written by Amy Jump, but it's directed by Ben Wheatley, and it's a very kind of weird one to just try and describe it, but stick with me here. It's set in a nondescript kind of building that is kind of all enclosing, all encompassing building where people live in there. You have apartments throughout the building at different floors, but down on sort of near the bottom you do have, there's a swimming pool area, and there is a big sort of supermarket shopping centre thing there. You have all these people that live in this flat, and introduced into the building is Lang, played by Tom Hiddleston. And he comes into this flat, meets some of the residents. You have in amongst there a couple of characters played by Sienna Miller, Luke Evans, for example, and they're all sort of involved in it. And he does then, going through the building, meet even more of these people until he actually eventually meets the man who created it, the architect of the building, played by Jeremy Irons, who is basically living up at the penthouse at the very top of the building, and he meets him and basically has a sort of a quick discussion with him, which he sees the whole of the upper level is designed with sort of basically a park on the roof, and there's a horse and everything, all that sort of thing up there. Here's a clip.
Dr. Lang, I hear you play squash.
Yes, I do. You built all this.
Dreamt, conceived. I hardly roll my sleeves up. Of course, project's far from finished. Over 5 towers in all, circling the lake. Something like an open hand. The lake is the palm, and we stand on the distal phalanx of the index finger. There. I put all my energies into this tower. I'm its midwife, so to speak.
It looks like the unconscious diagram of some kind of psychic event.
Well, that's good. I'll use that.
By all means.
So you have this whole thing of the building that is mostly sort of self-encased. Everyone lives in there, and all the things are involved. And then what happens is that it starts to kind of fall apart and degrade, not physically, but not literally, but all of society kind of comes, and it's all about this sort of this analogy of society. And you have the wealthy, well-to-doers up in the roof, up in the top of the towers. You have the people living down at the bottom, the basements and all sort of thing, and all that starts to collapse. The structure of that starts to fall apart. Society starts to go. The halls become filled with litter and rubbish. You have the people at the bottom start becoming deranged. People are attacked. You have the shop becomes full of old, rotten food, and it all starts to show. While up in the lofts, the people are having parties and weird kind of orgies and that sort of thing happening. And it's all done in this style because the book is written in the 70s, so it's very much influenced in the style of it by the 70s. The look of it is very much the core is that kind of that very cold, concretey style look of things, that very Italian style of the building and the insides of it. But you have also people are dressed in 70s clothing. the decor of the apartments, and the furniture is all kind of 70s style, and wallpapers that are all that, you know, those horrible patterns sort of things. And it's a weird thing, it doesn't bring it up today. It sticks in that kind of 70s feel to it. It would have been interesting to see what it does if it had brought up today. The problem I have with the film is that it is a film which, a lot of films, as I said before, of things, 2-hour film, the first hour of it I think is really good. I really like that. I love the setup of it. I love that when you start to see things start degrading and things start falling apart, and you get that whole thing of society is crumbling sort of thing. Second half of the film, there is a point when something happens that a character does something to someone, and then from then onwards I was kind of like, it lost me, and it kind of just waffled and wallowed in this mess of what was left in the last hour. And I wished that first hour had been broken up a bit more and spread out further, so that the last hour could have been the last 20 minutes for me. That would have been fine. It gets to a point where you think, right, finish it up, get to the end, and that's it. And it doesn't. It just keeps going over and over and over again, and just delving more into the muck unnecessarily before it finally does get to the ending. That I have a problem with. If it was an hour and a half long film, I would be perfectly fine with it. With that half hour in the last half stripped out, I think it would have been a much better film. I don't hate it, but because of the fact of that last hour just really just is a problem for me, that I cannot say that I really liked it. I like the idea of it, I like the setup of it, I just don't like the ending of it. The last half of it is a big problem for me.
Does it go bat insane crazy? Bat crap crazy?
It does, like, a bit, yeah.
Ben Wheatley's previous films. So does it go to the sort of like insane levels of like A Field in England, or has it got more of like a Kill List kind of feel?
I still haven't seen Kill List. I haven't even seen Sightseers yet.
Sightseers is probably his most approachable film.
It's a film that it does go completely bat crap crazy by the end of it. Although it has a structure, because it has this weird thing of that. It's one of these films that it starts off at the end and then goes back, and you see it all sort of leading up to that thing.
Old in reverse kind of thing.
No, well, kind of. It starts off at the back, at the end, and then goes back to the beginning, sort of thing. It's a weird kind of flashback-y sort of thing, but it's not. It's hard to try and explain, like I said. But
yeah, well, Ben Wheatley's films are always like that. But if you appreciate the way that Ben Wheatley, so if you're a fan of Ben Wheatley's other stuff like Kill List, Sightseers, A Field in England, you'll latch yourself more onto this film.
Probably it is a bit. The last half is more that A Field in England than this is, but I really found that once it's like it kind of, it's almost like it gets to. It's like it's taking a journey, and you're walking for miles and miles and miles, and the miles and miles and miles is what the first hour of the film is, and it's perfectly fine. And then it's like it gets to the door of where it wants to go to, and it literally just goes, okay, I'm going to sit here on the doorstep in the muck of what's here for the next 45 minutes before I finally go in, and just kind of like get on with it, get there, do it. I just found it very much that it just wanted to stretch out things unnecessarily.
Well, I'm a big fan of Wheatley's kookiness, very strangeness, so there's probably a chance that I might like this more than you.
Yeah, but I think you might come out of it and go, yeah, okay, I could have maybe done with that 20 minutes, this 20 minutes here taken out, and it would have been better.
Well, so I'll try my best to watch it before next week's show. Let's hope I can get a hold of it, but yeah, I'll try and watch it because I do really want to see it, because I'm a big fan of Ben Wheatley. I was one of the only people who actually got A Field in England. Even though it's really insane, I actually got that movie, so I'm interested in watching it. The Witch, then, The Witch, a New England Folktale. It's directed by Robert Eggers. This is his directorial debut. It's set in the very early 1700s, so 1630s, in that period of time. It centers around a family who is ostracized from the community that they're living in. So they're told to go and live somewhere else, because pretty much everybody in this small little village that they're living in is slightly scared of them. So this family, led by William and Catherine, who's played by Katie Dickey and Harvey Scrimshaw, they moved them out into the middle of this place in the middle of the forest. So they build up their own house. Things seem to be fine for their family. However, strange stuff starts to happen. There's a folk tale of witches that seem to prey in these the woods beside the house. The goats, bad things start happening to the goats. The baby disappears, and then the daughter, Thomasine, played by Anna Taylor-Joy, she starts to show signs of weird things happening to her, which causes the parents to be very wary about what's going on. Here's a clip, and before the clip is actually played, word of warning, this clip can be a bit loud in little points.
Scratchy! What's happening?
Thomasin, take the children outside.
What does this today? What does this? His mouths are sealed up. Oh, God. William!
Hold it. Children, away from this. Thomasin, now.
He'll break his jaws. Christ.
Now, you heard the way they were actually speaking there. It's not in like the English that we know now, it's the English that was back then, so it's very much Shakespearean-esque kind of English, and that's throughout the film. If that kind of stuff grates on you, then you're not going to have a good time with The Witch. The film itself, from the moment that the movie starts all the way to the moment the movie ends, is really creepy. If you have a hard time with horror films, stay away from The Witch, because it is so nerve-wrangling. It makes the goosebumps not just stand on there and pretty much leap off your arm or leg and take hold of you, because the movie, it just builds up and builds up and builds up the tension until it's sort of like the last 5 minutes. People might look at it and go, why did you go down that route there? But I can sort of see what the director was doing. But overall, the performances from everybody involved is spot on, is absolutely spot on. The kids throughout the movie just make this film. You heard William there, the young one who's been possessed, and he's absolutely phenomenal. So is Anna Taylor-Joy, who plays Thomasine. She is absolutely phenomenal as well. And so overall, horror fans will absolutely adore this movie. I really like The Witch, because I was eager to see a movie where it was all about tension, all about build-up, rather than just going bang. I'm sick of seeing those kind of films. That's not what The Witch does. There is no quiet bang moments at all through the entirety of this film. It is just unnerving, really creepy, but very, very well created.
Okay, on to Truth, which is the true story. It's written and directed by James Vanderbilt. It's his first film directed. He actually is a screenwriter by trade, and has written things like Zodiac and stuff like that, also true life things, but it's based around the true events that happened in 2004, and if you are aware of or not really of the CBS series 60 Minutes, which was a regular sort of investigative journalism news program that ran for an hour, and would have a story of, you know, that week that they would have delved into and look into and explain about the whole thing of it. You have in this film the characters that are played are, you have the man who is known for that show, Dan Rather, played by Robert Redford, and you have one of the producers of the show, played by Kate Blanchett, who plays Mary Mapes, and it all centers around sort of the controversy of the thing, of that what they looked into and found that this is 2004, leading up to George W. Bush being nominated to become president, or having just become president, and they start investigating his military service record and finding that there may be some question about his sort of impropriety of him having not served his mandatory time of that, and having basically just sort of managed to skirt the roles that he should have been involved in and such, and they start looking into this and investigating it, and go on sort of the air with this after they find what appears to be sort of legible information that proves this. Unfortunately, things maybe not turning out to be exactly exactly as they thought, and it starts having sort of potentially terrible repercussions for everyone involved, including the sort of lead anchor Dan Rather, who is very much so kind of up until that point considered to be pretty much untouchable on the screen. Here's a clip.
How long have we known each other?
Oh, Jesus, is it that bad?
They're going to start an investigation. And CBS wants to appoint an independent panel to take a look at how the story is put together. And I'm going to announce it tomorrow. I'm going to apologize for the story on air.
Andrew asked you to apologize?
He didn't ask.
Dan, that's surrendered.
Ever since Burkett changed his story, Andrew feels that CBS can't afford the risk to its reputation.
Oh, God, he knew. Even before we went down there, he just wanted to get Burkett on tape.
Mary, you got to promise me something. Stop worrying about me.
No, well, that's not going to happen.
You got to protect yourself now. We all do.
It's a film that, after that sort of initial part, it starts to then delve into this whole thing of the investigations, the questioning by everyone, the people start trying to look into it to cover it and figuring out what did happen and such. And it's one of those ones I actually really got into it and enjoyed it, because I do like these kind of things. It's almost like a courtroom drama. I don't at any point actually go into a courtroom sort of thing. It does have these, kind of like these judicial hearing sort of things that has that kind of courtroom feel to it, but they're never in a courtroom. It's always, in an office, people are sitting there around a table sort of talking. And I really got into it. I love that, because I do like the tension that builds sometimes, and it does build the tension quite well. The performances are really good. Cate Blanchett is really good in the film. You have in there other people popping in there sort of as her team investigating things. You have, Topher Grace is in there, Dennis Quaid is in there as well. You have other sort of recognisable faces. Bruce Greenwood pops up, Stacey Keach, and I found it to be a really thoroughly well presented kind of almost TV movie-like. It doesn't at any point become big or cinematic. It doesn't need to, but it has got this great kind of tension, and the writing is definitely there for the characters and for the moments where they're talking amongst each other. You can have a scene where people are standing around talking amongst each other and showing, oh yeah, this happens, and a lot of dialogue which is heavy and sometimes unnecessary, but in these scenes it's played out really well and really natural, and it feels right, and I really got into it and I enjoyed it.
Okay, unlike Norm of the North, an animated feature that's... Now, when you hear the voice cast of Rob Schneider, along with Heather Graham and Ken Jeong...
Oh dear.
Alarm bells start to ring, and then the words, oh dear, come to mind. The film itself centres around the character of Norm. He lives in the North Pole. He's a polar bear in the North Pole. A lot of visitors come there, and Norm likes to show off. He likes to tap dance, he likes to sing, he likes to just do as much stuff as possible to get attention. Other animals there just don't want that to happen because they don't want people to come to the North Pole. However, he seems to be bringing them in, and unfortunately he gets the eye of a huge massive businessman who wants to build houses in the North Pole, and so it's up to Norm to travel to America to try and stop this guy. Here's a clip.
So let's see. You're approximately 500 kilograms, exact skull and nose proportions.
I don't know what you're talking about. I only weigh 194 pounds, just like the average American male.
Please, I know exactly what you're doing, Norm. You're saving the Arctic. You're home. So I'm thinking, maybe we can work together. And you can save my home in the process.
Like you and me, I tell ya, there's nothing to tell about.
Be honest. What's your plan here?
Well, Mr. Green wants to use me to sell the Arctic, and I'm going to use the Arctic to save it.
Exactly. You have to rally the public so that they love you, wait for your moment, and turn them against Green. Use his own plan to defeat him. But the key is to make sure you time your moment just right when the public loves you the most.
So this is like an eco-terrorist kind of kids thing then?
No. Captain Planet is an eco-terrorist kind of kids thing. This is just an absolute nightmare. Because you've got Norm, he needs the help of a girl, because he's in disguise in the US. People think that he's a guy in a bear costume. They are that dumb, thinking that a huge massive polar bear is a guy in a bear costume. And so obviously Norm plays along with this and does the things like the tap dancing and all that kind of thing. So yeah, it's horrendous. You know when you had to review the Top Cat movie? Not the sequel, the original Top Cat movie.
I haven't seen the sequel.
I know, but you reviewed the original.
Yeah, unfortunately. I don't really remember that much of it. I honestly have blacked out so much of it.
Yeah, and I had to review movies like The Nut Job and stuff like that. The sort of like animated feature films that seem to be cobbled together by like multiple different studios and multiple different countries. This isn't even cobbled together by multiple different studios and multiple different countries. It's cobbled together by one studio from America who thought that Rob Schneider would be the best person to do the voice of a polar bear.
Well, saying that, I mean, Adam Sandler actually does pretty good when it's just voice stuff, not actually acting.
Rob Schneider doesn't do pretty good in anything.
One film.
You think Deuce Bigalow?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then he absolutely made a mess of that with Deuce Bigalow, European Gigolo.
Yeah.
I had a friend who saw that in the cinema and he couldn't stop laughing so much so that he ended up peeing himself.
Oh dear. Oh my god.
And that's with the sequel, not with the original.
Oh no, that's a shame.
And then you've got Ken Jeong as well, who's funny in absolutely nothing he does. So yeah, the film itself is not entertaining for children because the animation is so ropey at times that it's just... You're looking at it going, was this a Saturday morning cartoon on like one of those really bad channels, which is sort of like trying to be like a children's channel? It's just not interesting, it's not funny, it's badly animated, it's just an absolute mess of a film. You should be glad that you didn't have to review it, because this is a movie that's is not even going to make splashes or waves in anything.
Okay, last film of the evening, I think, isn't it?
Yeah.
You don't have one. You don't have any more. Is The Trust, which is directed by Alex Brewer and Benjamin Brewer. It is a quirky kind of comedy where you have two characters played by Nicolas Cage and Elijah Wood, who play these kind of CSI cops in Las Vegas. They are basically they're mostly CSI guys, but they are proper policemen as well. Nicolas Cage's character is very much kind of by the book. Everything must be done, things like this should be evidence, put it into evidence, don't be walking around with it, sort of thing. And then he starts investigating things when he starts tracking down and realizing that there is something unusual about a particular place, and it leads them to this kind of a delivery building where lots of things end up going in, but nothing seems to be coming out. Here's a clip.
They do the drop-offs in the back, but where does it go once it's inside? Did you check it out?
It's funny you should mention that.
What, you didn't get hired as a bag boy or something? Did you take these?
There's one in there that's, let's just see if you can spot it.
They're terrible.
Yeah.
It looks like a bum from the street took these.
Well, Lord knows I wasn't going to go marching around back there.
You made a homeless person take these photos?
Well, I paid him a little.
All right.
Right. So, I think this is more than just a money drop, or however you call it.
Why would you say that?
Because whatever they're bringing here stays here. Nothing goes out. Ever.
What is this?
Huh?
Look at the freezer. That lock.
Makes you wonder, doesn't it?
Look at you.
What?
And I'm skipping right into your little...
My what?
What's the name of that girl that solves the crimes? Nancy Drew. This is some Nancy Drew.
So you have this whole thing of it's kind of like this heist caper thing. They start investigating it, they start putting things together, and then they start actually going on the heist sort of thing of it. And it's a film that it's really kind of weird with this whole thing. Nicolas Cage is doing the weird Nicolas Cage role, that kind of thing, and it's really loopy. But the thing is, oddly enough, it's kind of funny. it's really strange to be watching him and going, typical Nicolas Cage, but he's doing something weird here, and it just actually kind of makes him interestingly stupid but funny. Elijah Wood's character really doesn't get up to much in the film until sort of it starts getting going towards the end, but you have this thing of that it's not anything particularly special, but it is kind of watchable. I was finding myself kind of getting swept along with it and going along with it, and it's not a long film. It's an hour and a half long, so it knows not to be hanging around too much. It is let down, unfortunately, by the ending. By the very ending, I really just kind of felt like it went a certain way that it didn't have to, and just got completely lost. But up to that, I was kind of having fun with it, going with it. It's not anything by any measure fantastic, but it's kind of it did make me laugh at times, stupidly, from largely Nicolas Cage's character, but it was just ridiculous. And that one of these things that you're going, oh come on, stop being stupid, but it carries on being stupid, and it just gets away with it in a weird way.
Oh well, it's just gonna get away from me because I have no intention of watching it.
Yeah, I mean it's not going to be in my best films of the year. It's not going to be my worst films of the year. So I don't expect you to watch it because it'll need to be in them. But it's as I say, it's a weird kind of thing, but interesting.
If it's one of those films that pop up on a channel and then I've got very little to do, I might just sort of like peruse it a little bit.
In a way, it kind of is like that. If you found it being on television and you switched over and you were just at the start of it and you go, oh, what's this to trust? Nicolas Cage, maybe. Elijah Wood, okay. And you sit there and you go, I'm getting into it, kind of. And it's just an easy 90-minute watch,
Yeah.
Okay, that's it for this week's show. We have been going through, as I say, this week's new releases. We will do in a moment things like our TV movies of the week. I'm going to do the shout out now. I mean, we normally do it after that, but I'm just going to go through it because otherwise I'll forget. So, of course, you are listening to us either online live or through the podcast, downloading us somewhere else. You can always find us at mondaymovieshow.co.uk. You can contact us at mondaymovieshow@yahoo.com. Give us some feedback. Let us know if there's anything you want to have included on the show or anything like that. You can reach us also on Twitter at mondaymovieshow. Stuart's on there at Cryptic Tadpole. I'm on there at AHDVD. And you can find us on Facebook, facebook.com/mondaymovieshow. As you heard during the middle of the show, there is the from page2screen.com. We have Stuart, another Stuart, does a couple of podcasts there. Is he coming back in August?
Back end of August, because he's away at the San Diego Comic Con.
Yeah,
and then he's
I hate him for that.
A few things.
I hate him for that. And
to be honest, I'm not overly jealous because there will be a lot of queuing.
Yeah, that's true. But also as well, our show goes up on, and we are involved slightly with as well, followingthenerd.com, which is basically anything nerd related. You'll find it on there, news wise and features and stuff like that. There is also Following the Gamer podcast, which, as Stuart also alluded to, does happen here on different nights.
Yeah, Saturday I think the next one is. If not, it'll be next Tuesday. So it's either a Saturday or a Tuesday. But we never tie ourselves down to a deal, which is sort of like nice.
Yeah, but confusing.
No, it's not overly confusing. I just let people know on my Twitter feed when the next one is. So it's normally either a Saturday or a Tuesday, but I like it like that.
So be sure.
It's very sweatastic.
Ugh.
Sorry, I know. It's sort of like the dark child of the Monday Movie Show, whereas in this show we don't swear at all. We keep it PG, 12 year maximum. On the Following the Gamer show, it's very much an 18.
Next thing you're going to be telling me you're playing Pokemon Go on the show.
No, I am playing Pokemon Go, but not on the show.
Yeah. Right. Oh, if you want to know,
do that on the show because you have to be moving.
If you want to know when the next episode of Following the Gamer will be happening, then follow at Cryptic Tadpole on Twitter.
Yep.
Yeah. So TV movies of the week.
I've got 3, but obviously I'm choosing one out of the 3.
Yeah, I've got 5, but I'm picking one of them out.
Surprise.
Well, you go for yours then.
Well, the 3 that I've got, I've actually got them in order as well.
Okay.
So first off, on Friday the 22nd at 9 o'clock on the Horror Channel, you've got Doghouse. You know how much of a fan of Danny Dyer I am.
Okay.
Considering that I've only actually really liked 2 films that he's been in. Severance.
Didn't see that coming.
The one directed by Christopher Smith, which I actually really like. Severance. It's quite funny. And Doghouse, which Doghouse is a very basic zombie film directed by Jake West, who did Evil Aliens. Better budget on this one. It's got,
no.
What?
Combine Harvester thing just popped in my head after you saying Evil Aliens.
That's Evil Aliens. I actually found that scene quite funny.
Yeah, but it's annoying.
Doghouse has got Stephen Graham in it, and Noel Clarke, and Danny Dyer, but it's a lot of fun. It is over the top gore, but it sort of like harkens back to Return of the Living Dead and those kind of films there. And it's got Emily Booth in it. Hi, Emily Booth. But yeah, it's a hell of a lot of fun, and it's on a perfect time as well on a Friday night at 9 o'clock on the Horror Channel.
Didn't Emily Booth used to host the Sci-Fright or something?
She used to host Bits, the Channel 4 video game show on a very late Thursday night.
Yeah, I remember now.
And she's the female host of the Horror Channel.
Buffy, what she goes by, yeah. Okay.
On Sunday, a completely different tact. On Sunday the 24th at 11 AM on Film 4. So lunchtime on Sunday, a perfect time for it. Sunshine on Leith. Again, I've mentioned this a couple of times.
Is it not a 12? Is it not a 12?
It's PG.
Is it PG? Okay.
Yeah, it's PG, but it's a very good film.
I still haven't got around to seeing it. I need to see it.
Yeah, it's a musical based on I forgot
Proclaimers.
the name of
Proclaimers.
Yeah, the Proclaimers. It's based on the Proclaimers. But yeah, I really liked it. It's got a few touching moments in it as well. But my movie of the week, and my guess is you've got this written down. It's on film on Channel 4 on Sunday the 24th at 9 o'clock. Secret Life of Walter Mitty.
I have got it written down, but it's not my movie of the week.
It's probably a shock that I've actually made this as my movie of the week, because it just surprised me on how much I actually really like The Secret Life of Walter Mitty. It's a movie that I probably never would have thought I would have liked, but yeah, it just has that thing. There is something in it which you can't pinpoint what's so good about it, but I think it's just down to Ben Stiller's performance in it is brilliant. It's one of his best performances he's done. The chemistry with Kristen Wiig's character works really well in it as well. So I actually really like The Secret Life of Walter Mitty. So that's my TV movie of the week.
I do oddly as well. I mean, it's kind of like one of these weird life-affirming sort of films.
Yeah, it definitely is.
My other movies I've got though to worthy mentions. I'm going to point out the whole. You've got tomorrow night, Tuesday the 19th of July. Film 4, 9 o'clock is The Iceman, which is the movie with Michael Shannon as the true life, not serial killer, but a killer for hire who's apparently killed a large number of people, sort of as a hitman. And it's not a fantastic film, but it is a great film for Michael Shannon's performance, because he is a really good he's great in that kind of very cold performance. You have Filth is on Friday the 22nd of July on Film 4, 11:15 p.m. Friday the 22nd, and it's a great James McAvoy role based on the Irvin Welsh. Is it Irvin Welsh?
Yeah.
Irvin Welsh novel with the same name. And interesting to mention, on Sunday the 24th on Channel 4. Channel 4 has a lot of films on Sunday. You have at 5:30 p.m. is Finding Nemo, just because of the fact it's a fantastic film, and of course they're doing this because you have Finding Dory coming out,
which is not this Friday, the Friday after.
Yeah. But my TV movie of the week, which is I think getting its premiere on Film 4 on Thursday the 21st of July at 9 p.m. and is also shown again on Film 4 on Sunday the 24th at 6:45 p.m. is Ender's Game. Because I really do think it's a great film. That it's one of these ones that it's a film that you watch it, and when you come to the end of it, there's a realization of just a film that goes particularly dark, and I thought it was really well handled. The subject is very much one of these ones that you'll watch it and it will make you question things afterwards about it and about your kind of views on things. And I thought it's a 12 rated film, but it is a kids, young adults sort of film, but adults can watch it and enjoy it as well. And it's a big special effects thing that's really impressive too. And I think it's a very good kind of moral lesson for parents to watch with their kids, because it's quite a shocking kind of ending, but nothing bad, sort of for kids to see, sort of thing. But I can just remember when I've seen it at the cinema, and I've seen it since. I really got into it. I thought it was a great kind of moral quandary of a film.
Yeah, with Asa Butterfield, who is he's a phenomenal actor.
He is.
Everything from Son of Rambo to The Boy in the Striped Pajamas, X+Y, which is a really good film. Very few people saw that film. He's also in the new Mrs. Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children, which looks intriguing.
Yeah, and it also has Harrison Ford playing a role actually quite more animated than he'd seen him for quite a while up to that point. So,
yep.
Yeah. So that's it for this week's show. We are going to go head off now and go do our things while get ready for next week's show, where we will be covering, amongst all these other releases,
we have Star Trek Beyond and the BFG.
Yeah, and so the clip we have to play out the show with is a clip from Star Trek Beyond. So we will be back next week, most likely on Monday, though check out mondaymovieshow.co.uk for sure. We will let you know as soon as we do.
Yep.
So until next week, bye-bye.
No, movie of the week.
Oh, I always do it, don't I?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Movie of the week. That's because it's what it's like for me this week as well. That's why I can't, no movie of the week.
Sigh. DVD, easily The Witch. But if you need to see something in the cinema, then Ghostbusters again, because we forgot to mention it in the cinema section, because it is properly, officially, it'll be in the chart on Wednesday. Technically, it got officially released on Friday, but we got it a little bit earlier than that. But yeah, still go to see Ghostbusters. But if you want something new, then if a cinema is shown at Baskin.
No, I haven't seen Ghostbusters yet, so I might try and see it, but I'm kind of meh. See, it's difficult for me to choose, because I mean, I would choose Truth out of the whole lot of them, but I know it's not going to be to everyone's taste, but it's just out of a lot of the other choices of this week, Truth is the one that I'd have to choose. So,
yep.
Right, now we're going to head off.
Yeah.
We'll see you next week. We'll see you next week. We'll be reviewing, as I say, among other things, Star Trek Beyond, which this is a clip of. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Now, that's Starfleet property, okay? Can I just take it? But I'm feeling generous today, so I'll have at it.
Where you get that?
It's my Starfleet insignia.
What does it mean?
It means that I'm an officer of Starfleet, engineering division.
Engineering?
Aye, that's right. I fix things.
I know what is engineering.
You're no with those that killed my ship, are you? I'll take that as a no.
He is Craw. He is the reason why you're here. Come with me. Now.
Wait, now hang on a minute, lassie. I'm having a difficult day here. I've got to find my crewmates.
You help me, and I help you.
All right, well, things being as they are, I doubt I'll get a better offer today, so lead the way.
Good. I am Jayla. And you are Montgomery Scott.
Aye, Scotty.
Come now, Montgomery Scotty.
All right, hold up.